going on? How's it going? It's me. It's Friday. I'm happy as all get out. Man, nice and hot out there. Boy, ecstatic. It's the 8th of April. 8th of April. 8th of August. And hot as hell. And I'm cool with it. About 90 degrees out there. And I'm happy as a lark. I can do that. I can do 90 degrees. I'm good with it. I ain't gonna lie. Anyway, interesting times we in. I kind of wanted to do something upbeat today, but nothing upbeat is going on. So, hate to burst y'all bubble. There's nothing upbeat going on. Absolutely nothing. I gotta tell you, gonna get into this in a second. J.D. Vance and the Republicans up today, shenanigans. J.D. Vance come to Indiana yesterday trying to pull that bullshit. Okay? So, that's where we are now. Hey, what's up, James? What's going on? Oh, but before I get into J.D. Vance, another public service announcement. Look, I'm going to say this again. Don't be out here spitting on people, okay? I'm going to tell you, if you spit on me, it's going to be bad. It's going to be about as bad as what happened to this brother here. Now, I'm laughing like the Simpsons was, okay? I'm laughing like the Simpsons. He was a tough motherfucker. When that door was halfway closed up on that man, he's standing there spitting in the man's face and thought he wasn't going to pry that door open to get that ass. Oh, I would have done the same thing. The hell with riding on this train. I'm finna pry this door open and I'm gonna beat you down. I mean, down. So, don't be out there spitting on people. All right? Don't be out there spitting on people. Public service announcement. I'm trying to tell you. Yes, death wish. Yup. Straight up. And you know what? What amazes me is some folks, I don't even know how that come to their mind to do that. How does it come to your mind to spit on somebody? You know, that is like the most vile thing you can do to anybody. Is to transfer the germs from your mouth onto somebody else. Oh, I shudder to even think about how bad I would go off. I mean, that disgusts me so bad that anyway, all right. Back to J.D. Vance. Okay. Now, I've been telling y'all that what they trying to do in Texas is just a test. And no sooner that I got that out, what in the hell did the Republicans do? They sent J.D. Vance right here to Indiana. You heard it. J.D. Vance came to Indiana to discuss redistricting Indiana. Now, I'm going to play this clip. You watch this clip. In this clip, they're going to show a map of the districts in Indiana. Indiana has a fairly clean congressional map. It is a clean map compared to some of the other maps that you could see in some of the other states. And add to that, listen to what I'm about to say. Indiana has 9 congressional districts. 7 of them are held by Republicans. Only 2 Democratic. 9 districts, 7 Republican, 2 Democrat. Check this out.
Thanks for joining us at 13 News at Noon. I'm Anne Marie Tiernan, and right now here in Indianapolis, Vice President J.D. Vance is visiting our city, and there's a good chance he's here to talk about redistricting. Our Emily Longnecker is at the State House right now, and Emily, thanks for joining us live here at noon. Tell us what you've learned so far about that visit today.
Well, Ann, Vice President Vance left the State House here about a half an hour ago after about an hour-long meeting with Governor Braun and other state Republican leadership. Now, the governor just put out a post on X a few minutes ago. We're going to bring it up, and I'm going to read it to you. It said, "It was great to meet with VP Vance today. We discussed a number of issues, and I was pleased to highlight some of the great things happening in Indiana." Now, earlier this week, Governor Braun told the media that they would be discussing an array of topics when Vice President Vance came here for this meeting, and that redistricting could be one of those topics. But the governor said at the time earlier this week that he wasn't making any commitments about calling a special session, and that's what it would take to redistrict Indiana and redraw the congressional districts. Right now, Indiana has 9 congressional districts. 7 of them are Republican, 2 are Democrats. Now, Indiana's congressional districts were redrawn in 2021 after the census, and the census happens every decade. And Braun said at the time earlier this week that it wasn't typical to redistrict outside of a census, and he characterized today's meeting as just a discussion. That is what he said earlier this week about the meeting. Now, Democrats have characterized this as a power grab and a way for the Trump administration to hold on to power in the House of Representatives. Other state Democrats have characterized this whole thing as a knife fight, and in that vein, that's why you see all of these folks here today at the State House. Democrats are going to be holding a press conference and a rally of sorts here at the State House to talk about this concern over a possible redistricting here in Indiana. We know Congressman Andre Carson is expected to be here, also Congressman Mervan. A lot of folks here with signs. We are going to be covering it, and we'll bring that to you later today. Ann?
All right, Emily, wondering any word of whether J.D. Vance is going to be making public remarks other than what he's posted there on X today?
So at this point, we've been told that there is not going to be any public media availability with the vice president. It is our understanding that he could be at a fundraiser, but at this point, no discussion of anything public. Ann?
All right, Emily Longnecker on it for us today. Thank you so much, reporting live from the State House.
Okay. Now let's mix that up. What's up there, Charles? Glad you can hang out. There's 2 Democrat districts. And J.D. Vance is in Indiana talking to the governor, Mike Braun of Indiana, of how to steal the last 2 districts in Indiana. I live in the 1st district. Indianapolis is 7th district. That's it. That is it. And, okay, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, why do you think the 1st district and the 7th district are Democrat? Come on. You all know why they are. You all know how they got to be. And did you notice how little the 7th district is? That's all that gerrymandering, okay? That's how big the 7th district is in the whole of Indiana, okay? And how did that happen? Gerrymandering. They already gerrymandered down to 2 districts, okay? Now, how did they become Democrat? They're predominantly black areas. Indianapolis is a black city, okay, for the most part. That's, and Indianapolis is Marion County, basically. So, I got to tell you, it's a shame. It is a terrible shame that these people intend to steal in this way. They intend to steal. They just intend to take it over. Period. They're going to take it over. Just that simple. I was sent a note to check out Rachel Maddow. Most of you should know who Rachel Maddow is. I'm going to see if I can pull that clip up right quick. Let's see if I can find that right quick. Yeah, let's try that. Think that worked. Anyway, I've never even heard of anything like that. Didn't even think it was possible. Yes, it absolutely is. They intend to take away. And see, check this out. When they redistrict like that, they literally take away the person who represents you in Congress. Right now, we have Frank Mrvan. Frank Mrvan took Pete Visclosky's, I can never say his name right, Pete Visclosky. I knew Pete pretty decently. I've met Mrvan a couple of times. And what they intend to do is gerrymander and take the 1st district. You saw the 1st district up in the left-hand corner. That's the Chicago metro area, okay? And they intend to take that and turn it into a Republican district. And we will have no representation in Congress. That's the plan, okay? That's the plan. And when they do that, okay, check this out. We've all been wondering if there's going to be an election next year. Well, what they're doing now tells us that they're afraid to try and stop an election from happening next year. I think all of the consultation has been telling them, no, you can't stop the election. If you stop the election, it ain't going to be good. So what short of stopping the election can they do? Well, they can make sure that they're the only ones being elected. If there's nothing but Republican districts, that's all that's going to be getting elected. And you have to be psychotic, a psychotic madman to want power so bad that you literally trying to destroy your own system just so you and yours can stay in power. And these people intend to stay in power. I'm going to play this clip from Rachel Maddow. It's a bit long. And I'll probably break in the middle of it. But a lot of people think we're heading towards something. Okay? A lot of people think something is about to happen. Something is about to go on. We're heading into bad times. Adolf Hitler 2.0. Yeah. A lot of people think something is coming, Check out what Rachel Maddow has to say about it.
You can narrow or widen the aperture as much as you want. You can look at the very big picture or the small local picture anywhere in the country. And we try to do as much of both of those things as we can every week here on this show. But whether you're looking at small-scale local stories or the biggest picture stories about what's happening in our country, the story is the same. And it is now an undeniable thing. We have crossed a line. We are in a place we did not want to be, but we are there. The thing we were all warning about for the last few years is not coming. It is here. We are in it. This is what it likes, it turns out. This is what it's like, right? It's August. It's a Monday. Every day the sun rises and the sun sets, and there are, sports and movies, and there are new hit songs. There are scandals here and there. There are crimes. There's everybody's personal quotient of family drama and health worries and money worries and falling in and out of love and in and out of faith. Life has not stopped, and none of our personal lives have stopped. But also at the same time, life in the United States is profoundly changing, is profoundly different than it was even 6 months ago. Because we do now live in a country that has an authoritarian leader in charge. We have a consolidating dictatorship in our country. And it sounds melodramatic to say it, I know, but just go with that for a minute, right? Think in melodramatic terms. Think in cinematic terms. Imagine the cartoon-level caricature of what you think a dictatorship looks like. It's secret police, right? A massive, anonymous, unbadged, literally masked, totally unaccountable internal police force that apparently has infinite funding, but no identifiable leadership. And they act in ways designed to instill maximum fear and use maximum force. When you imagine an authoritarian country, right, what you imagine is masked secret police breaking people's car windows and snatching people off the streets and out of church parking lots and courtroom hallways and taking them away with no charges, no notice, no paperwork, no explanation, not letting them see lawyers, and then moving them secretly to what are effectively black site prisons, where they won't tell you who's there and where no one's allowed in to see what's going on. Right? And that kind of a cartoon caricature of an authoritarian country, the one you might have imagined in melodramatic and cinematic terms ever before we got here, you would expect, right, that you'd have a scapegoated minority group blamed for all things. In our case, immigrants. Right? And the new extraordinary powers and shows of force by the secret police, among other things. All these extraordinary powers and shows of force will be framed as necessary to stop this terrible internal enemy, right? Frame everything as immigration enforcement. Because for immigration enforcement, not only is all force justified, but maximum force is preferred. And they're trying to make it into a national entertainment to threaten to feed immigrants to alligators in South Florida. Right? They're making them eat off dishes on the floor like they're dogs. The Crumb Detention Center in Florida. They want us to like that, right? The Republican Party wants to sell T-shirts about that.
Now, let me break in here. Now, remember, they just announced that they plan to do that here in Indiana, too. They're setting up a nice brand new center here in Indiana to do the same thing. Okay? So it looks like this is going to be like they're going to start doing regional things. Like down in Florida, you got that region. This is probably going to be a Midwest region. You'll probably hear a West region or a Northwestern region. Something like that, maybe. You know, we're going to find out. You know, this is here. It's not going to come. It's here. Let's check it out.
And if you think it's only about immigrants, take the president's own word for it when he says the homegrowns are next. And then he starts musing publicly about which Americans he intends to strip of their citizenship. I mean, in a cartoon caricature of an authoritarian country, displays of military might are not just for the country's external enemies. They're for the country's own people, right? Because in an authoritarian country, you turn military force inward toward the people of that country. And so now we've got these large and expanding military zones in multiple states where they have extended the legal boundaries of nearby military bases to include hundreds and hundreds of miles of nearby land. So they can give active duty U.S. troops the power to arrest and search people on U.S. soil. They are now doing that over hundreds of miles of territory in multiple states. Both The Intercept and The New Republic in the last couple of days have had new reporting about Trump administration plans to permanently integrate the active duty U.S. military into, of course, immigration enforcement. So we will have our own U.S. military troops mobilized on U.S. soil, U.S. military force turn inward on us in an ongoing and permanent way for immigration enforcement, right? And like they tried in L.A. to put down protests against the government because those protests relate to immigration enforcement. What else do you think of when you think of authoritarian countries? I mean, in the worst case, you think of death camps. We don't have those. What we do have are black site prison camps, including huge new ones that are designed to hold thousands of people. The biggest ones we've yet had have just been bidded out to contractors for construction, and they're building them now on U.S. military bases. And they say they want states to build them all over the country. In the cartoon caricature of an authoritarian state, there's secret police, there's prison camps, there's the scapegoated enemy on whom all things must be blamed and against whom all things are justified. Protests must be criminalized. Media must be intimidated into saying and doing what the leader wants, or they must be shut down, or both. Universities must be intimidated into saying and doing what the leader wants, or they must be shut down, or both. Law firms must be intimidated into not opposing him and saying and doing what he wants, or they must be shut down. And for institutions like that, it's not just the boldest or most strident critics of the president who must be shut down. It's the most mainstream, right? It's the most prestigious, the most credible, because that's what's so dangerous about them. There can't be any source of authority. There can't be any source of authoritative statements of fact that compete with what the leader insists must be the new truth. And so government departments will be stripped of their experts, and he will fire his way through them until they tell him things that he wants to be told. If you want to be a 4-star general or admiral in this military, you must now pass a personal one-on-one interview with the president, who personally will decide if you are to his liking or not to be a flag officer in this military. The intelligence agencies will say that his strike on Iran obliterated their nuclear program because he likes that word, obliterated, and he said it once. And therefore, because he said it, it must be true. And if you say otherwise, you will be fired. The Justice Department will say that the president won not just the last election, but he also won the one before that, the one he actually lost. And anybody who points out that Russia tried to help him win the one before that should be criminally charged for saying that, even though it's true. We are not heading towards something like this. We are there. It is here. It is the environment in which we are now living. And so, given that you now live in a country with an authoritarian leader, the question is, what can you do for your country?
Well, I cut it right there because she goes into some of the things like marches, protests, the political leaders marching, and so forth and so on. The reason I didn't continue into that with the marches and everything, because the things that typically we have in a democratic society to go against authoritarianism is not going to work against authoritarianism, because they don't recognize the democratically elected things, the normal way of life. They don't recognize that. Okay? There's going to be violence. And until everybody gets their mind made up that there's going to be violence, I don't know what to say. See, check this out. Just today, watch. I'm gonna put this on the screen. I think. Yeah, I believe that. Let's try that right there. I'm gonna put this on the screen. Let me see if I can make this a little bigger. President Trump orders federal law enforcement officers to patrol Washington, D.C. streets. Okay? This is part of a continued idea to take over the nation's capital away from democracy. Okay? This, on purpose, they intend to strip D.C. from its, D.C. is governed as a city, but it has its own governing, and it is, they've never even considered allowing D.C. to become a state. The Democrats wouldn't mind, but the president is the commander-in-chief and controls what goes on in D.C. He intends to take D.C. over, okay, and have federal people patrolling D.C. That way, it falls under his jurisdiction. Right now, D.C. has city police that don't march to his tune. It's already here. And it's it's moving right along, okay? Every day, Project 2025 is moving right along. It's just a little bit here, a little bit there, another crazy idea, another crazy notion. Constantly throwing stuff out to get off the Epstein thing. We got to get off the Epstein thing. I got my papers to show them when they say papers. We must see your papers. Well, I'm glad you got your papers, brother, but the only problem with that is they also intend to strip citizenship. Okay? Their idea is not to have the right papers. The fact that you have the right papers is fine. Show me your papers. Oh, you got the right papers. We'll fix that. Rip, rip, rip. You're no longer a citizen. I kid you not. This is the goal. Let me see. I'm going to look for another clip right here. Let me see if I can find this next clip. You may find this one interesting. Because I put a few clips together to try to illustrate what's going on. Okay? I'm going to play a series of clips. They're going to paint an awful picture. These clips I'm about to play are going to paint the same. There's going to be different things going on, but they'll paint the same picture. In that case, come get some. Yeah, man. See, that's where I'm at now. That's where I am right now. Come get some. Because I'm too old. I'm too old to dance. Okay? I'm too old to dance. Come get some. Because the plans that they have is not, see, we can't get caught up in the immigration thing, because that is not the whole picture. That's just the test. That's all that is. That's just the test. How well that goes determines who's next. And yes, there is somebody next. Check this out.
Days, I've gotten tons of hate mail from black Trump voters. Now, right off the bat, if you're black and you voted for Trump or you're still supporting Trump, you are delusional. If you think Trump, I've known Trump for 30 years. If you think he's pro-black people, you're completely delusional. I've been to Mar-a-Lago, I don't know how many times, and I've never seen a black person there. And Mar-a-Lago is a huge place. There's 1,000 people there when I used to go there for a fundraiser or an event. Never seen a black person. I've never seen a single black person there. Okay? Trump is not a fan of black people, but you probably didn't see this. If you're still supporting him, you probably didn't see how he snuck this in a couple of days ago. So a couple of days ago, if you're not familiar, Trump pulled back the law that kept federal workers in federal buildings from segregating bathrooms, drinking fountains, work areas from blacks and whites or any other race. Okay, it was always black and white, but that's what the law says. He pulled it. Okay, now we're going back to the days of the early 60s, late 50s, 1950s and before, where there were black water fountains, colored water fountains is what they called them for coloreds, and white water fountains, and restaurants. And Now in federal buildings, they can discriminate against you. Okay, let me tell you, if you didn't know that, let me tell you what's next. It's coming. Watch. The Civil Rights Act of 1964. Now, if you don't know your history, that's what Martin Luther King died for, basically. Okay? That's what John Lewis used to march in the streets for. Jesse Jackson, all these guys fought for this to give so people could not discriminate. The government couldn't discriminate. Citizens couldn't discriminate. Companies couldn't discriminate against people of color. Okay? If he pulls that, we're headed back to 1950. And if you're black, you ain't going to like it. Let me tell you. Okay? I don't know how many of these people that are sending me hate mail that are black are educated people. But if you know your history, I don't see how you're supporting Trump. Wake up before it's too late. It's going to take generations to pull this back together if we ever do. And you don't want to live in a country when you're a black person that's circa 1940, 1950. It was not a pleasant experience. Okay. That's why the civil rights people marched and did all the things they did, because they had real guts. They weren't sitting back. Another thing I'm getting from black people is, oh, well, you can march now. We did it in civil rights. It's your turn. Are you kidding me? If you're not a wealthy white male, he's coming after you. He's coming after your rights. Women, Hispanics, military people as well. They're a minority as well.
Understand something, y'all. What this man is saying is the truth. Okay? This ain't stopping with Latinos. Get it out of your mind if you think this is stopping with Latinos. Okay? Understand something. We are here. We are here. Everything you see going on right now that we're sitting back and watching, that's the test. And they're passing the test. Okay? They're passing the test. And they're passing it with flying colors. Now, what they did in Texas when they left the state, that might work. It might run out the time for that special session. When they go back into session, they'll have to do it all over again, do something else. They're being threatened that they're going to be arrested. I don't know how you arrest somebody for not coming to work. You can't arrest somebody. That's not the military. It's the test. That's how much of a lunatic the governor of Texas is. You had John Cornyn call the FBI director and say, hey, can you have the FBI get involved in Texas state business and try and go and get those people out of Chicago? How in the hell can a senator call the head of the FBI and get a federal force involved in a state situation? It don't work. They have no jurisdiction. It's a test. Check this out.
Is the U.S. Constitution only written for white people? Professor Poutine here, time for Mysteries, Histories. By now, some of you may have heard of that University of Florida law student, Preston Damsky, who wrote a paper that argues that the Constitution was only written for white people, not blacks, not Hispanics, not indigenous people, not women, and the country should be returned to that way, if necessary, by force. Well, what does he recommend? Stripping all people who are non-white of voting rights. An idea, by the way, that is supported by Clarence Thomas, who is allowing the redistributing of voting districts to disenfranchise black voters. He also argues that shoot-to-kill orders should be authorized at the U.S. border to keep non-whites out of the country, and the country should be returned by force to white people. You might think that's kind of a wackadoodle idea. His paper received an award for academic excellence from a current sitting federal judge. And don't forget, 6 of the 9 Supreme Court justices are originalists. In other words, they believe the Constitution should be interpreted the way that the founding fathers all slave owners or slave aiders and abettors, because they didn't say anything about it, believed it should be. And don't forget that Stephen Miller, Trump's chief of staff, big advocate of these ideas. Folks, the rebranding of fascism as fidelity to the American Constitution and advocating the use of force to create or enhance racial supremacy, we're now into final solution territory. So anybody who argued that, they're just coming after undocumented migrants, they don't mean me. Anybody watching this? Send this to any non-white American that you know. Because I'll tell you something, if they get their way, they're coming after you. Consider yourself updated.
It is what it is. It is what it is. Now, you heard that. Now, check out this next young lady, and she's speaking about exactly what I've been trying to get across. These white-only communities that they're starting, it's for a purpose. It's for a purpose. I knew it the minute I heard it. I knew it the minute I heard it. Check out her opinion on it.
The only community that's been established in Arkansas is seeking to expand to just outside Springfield, Missouri, and have another whites-only community. They are calling themselves Return to the Land, focused on ancestral celebration of white heritage, including their ancestral use of the land, which is an interesting take considering their ancestral land is here. And not that Europe wants them. I don't want to wish that on Europe either. But it's an interesting take considering that their ancestral land is not here and it never was. And not that I'm worried about people who want to live in a whites-only community seasoning their chicken, but I think that they shouldn't be allowed to have spices that did not originate from a white country. They should not be able to eat food that originated from other people groups like African Americans, the Chinese, Middle Eastern, or anywhere else. And they also shouldn't be able to celebrate art forms that those people have created, since it is such a problem for them that other people of other skin tones and belief systems exist. Because nothing says I am confident in myself and my own superiority than I can't tolerate having other people around that don't look like or believe like me. In fact, it's so scary, I'm going to build a commune where only people look like me. It's screaming terrifyingly insecure. Now there's this part of me that's like, good. Let them. We don't want to be around the fucking fascist racists anyway. But then the problem is that once these communities get established, they're going to try to change laws so that they continue to discriminate further. We're going to start seeing white towns, white cities, and then we're right back into segregation where a black person can't go into a white-owned restaurant and vice versa, and then we start rolling back into segregation, Jim Crow laws, which is ultimately their goal. The goal of these communities is to do the same thing that they did in Alabama when they enacted an abortion ban in an effort to take it to the Supreme Court and challenge Roe. These communities are being put together in an effort to challenge Supreme Court rulings around civil rights, discrimination, birthright citizenship, and the equality of all races within the United States of America.
You know how...
Now, that's the point I've been trying to make. That's the point I've been trying to make. I would love them to have their white-only communities. I've been wanting to see that experiment for as long as I can remember. Because they seem to think that in a all-white community, it's just going to be roses, peaches, and cream. It's just going to be wonderful. Tell you what, have at it. The problem is, the hierarchy that's involved is not going to be satisfied with just this little community. It's going to spread like a cancer. They're going to want to vote in the local elections, okay? They're going to want to run for offices in the local elections. In the town that happens to be just outside of the all-white community is suddenly going to be run by members of the all-white community, okay? And then the little ordinances in town are going to be changing about who can come into town at what time of day, you know, who can go to what schools in the town. That's how it spreads, okay? Now, that little community runs the town. Now that town is all white. And what happens now is you run for county positions. Because when you run for county positions, now you can affect what happens in all of the towns and cities in the county. See, that is the purpose here. That's what's going on. Today, not tomorrow. Today. Now, is it fortunate or unfortunate that there hasn't been any bloodshed yet? You tell me, is it fortunate or unfortunate? Again, the architects of Project 2025 stated that as long as we let them do what they want to do, there'll be no bloodshed. As long as we stand back and let them do what they want to do. If we don't, there's going to be some bloodshed. This is how far they're willing to go. And trust me, they're telling you the truth. We already know they're willing to spill blood. Because guess what? The guy that is the architect of 2025, he's not going to be out there in the streets with the weapon. But they have tons of idiots that will follow every command. These rich bastards got these fools out here ready to die for some imaginary Shangri-La. That they're going to find themselves getting ground into the dirt once all the rest of us have been ground into the dirt. Jesus. So, understand, if we do get a chance, and for those, wait a minute, for those that to this day, think, oh, my vote don't mean nothing. My vote don't mean nothing. Check this out.
Imposters tell black folks that voting is a waste of time, that voting hasn't gotten us anything in 80 years. Well, I got a few questions for them. If voting isn't important, why did Trump tell Texas to redraw their voting map? And why did the Democrats leave the state to prevent it? And why did white supremacists murder these three young men on the screen 61 years ago today? And why did white supremacists make black people pay a tax just to vote if voting isn't important? And why did they assassinate Dr. King, beat John Lewis, assassinate Medgar Evers if voting isn't important? Why did they so violently try to deny us the right to vote if voting isn't important? Why did Trump thank black people twice, 2016, 2024, for not voting for Kamala or Hillary? Why did it take an amendment to the Constitution the 15th Amendment, just to give us the right to vote. And if voting wasn't critical, why do they fight so hard to keep us from doing it? And why do a large majority of white voters always vote year after year, cycle after cycle? And why did Congress pass the Voting Rights Act 60 years ago if voting isn't vital to black progress? If voting doesn't matter, then why do they implement so many voter suppression laws? Why are we still standing in long lines? Why are we fighting for access to the polls if voting doesn't matter? Why are they trying to totally gut the Voting Rights Act if voting isn't crucial? Why is Clarence Thomas trying to kill Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act if voting is not important? This makes no sense, so I'll answer my own questions. Voting is critical. It always has been. It always will be. It's how we fight back. So don't let anyone steal your agency and your power. Remember, stay woke.
So, if we get a chance to vote, you got to vote. You got to vote. Understand, right this minute, they're working to steal your opportunity to even have representation in the government. They want to rip the representation right out of your hands, to where there's no one sitting at a seat with your interest at heart. And there's only one reason to do that, right? If there's nobody representing me, guess what? Who helps me exercise my rights? Rights? What rights? Right. You will have no rights. And it saddens me how many people are going about their lives. Like Rachel said, the sun came up this morning. I had my coffee. You know, people went to and fro. People got married today. You know, people, went on vacation. It's Friday. Folks went on vacation. Go down to the airport. People getting on the planes. Everything looks the same. But beneath the surface, the plan is taking shape quite nicely. I don't know if we too late. We might be too late already. I'm still placing my one little bet, my one little chip. I got one chip to put on the table. And that chip is somehow, MAGA finally finds out they've been duped. Now I understand Trump and them boys went to Joe Rogan. They went to Joe Rogan to ask Joe Rogan, hey man, we need you back on board. Because Joe Rogan has turned completely against them. Joe Rogan been spitting out facts. And that is putting a crack any armor. That is the only thing, in my opinion, that's the only thing that gives me the feeling that there's a chance. Because if MAGA finds out that they've been duped, they finally realize they've just been had. If it starts to hurt bad enough for them that they realize, and I do not know for the life of me, I had no idea that Wall Street was good enough to float this economy the way they have. Wall Street has floated this economy. Corporate America. Ford announced that the tariffs ate all of their profit. Stellantis announced the tariffs tearing them up. GM, the tariffs eating up their profit. But corporate America is floating this economy. Now we know how the Germans let it happen to them. Yep, because it's happening to us now. Absolutely. Absolutely. You are looking in real time at what happened in Germany. You are looking in real time. You know, we all heard the stories. We saw the documentaries. You know, I love to watch the documentaries of Nazi Germany, how it happened on like PBS. Understand, Corporation for Public Broadcasting just shut down. They snatched all the money from them because they won't allow Republicans spin. They only want the truth. So they pulled the funding. That's how. You control what's on the airwaves. They dominating ABC, making them pay lawsuits. How do you make somebody pay a lawsuit and they didn't break any rules? The pressure. You are looking in real time. You're looking at it right now, how Hitler took power in Germany. I tell you what. It's amazing. It's amazing to actually watch it. So, I'm wondering, is it too late already? Because these people are embedding themselves in government. See, long after this guy's gone, somebody's going to have to, weed these people out. These people are getting embedded like cancer in a host. Is it too late already? That's my question. Is it too late already? Which one of these executive orders is going to start the fight? The guy is executive order crazy. Okay? Understand. He literally got rid of the law by executive order that stops businesses from discriminating against people for color, whatever. If you wanted to get a government contract, you couldn't discriminate against anybody. That thing about colored bathrooms, yeah, he wiped out that statute. Terrifying. The reason I don't say terrifying, because I'm not afraid. It's only terrifying if you allow it to scare you. It's amazing to me to watch the operation. It's amazing that the entire country is watching this unfold, and the only pushback is speeches. The only pushback is speeches. This country is completely unprepared for what these people have in mind. Completely unprepared. And the bad part about it, there's 300 some odd million people in America. 330 some odd million people. I would be willing to bet 200 million of them ain't got any idea what's going on. Ain't got any idea. Now, you want to hear scary? That's scary. That's terrifying. 200 million of them walking around every day without any idea, because they don't look at anything. The only thing they see is what's going on in the little world that they float around in. I know tons of people. The only thing they know anything about is what's going on in their own private little circle. Ain't got any idea what is about to come to their front door. And they don't want to know. Yeah, they'll tell you every day of the week. I don't even want to see all that. I don't even want to talk about that. Man, I don't watch none of that. I don't want to hear none of that. Oh, man. Jeez. I got to tell you. Oh, hell, I'm sorry. I let the time get by me. I done got on the soapbox again. Question. Is it too late? James, you say it's too late? It damn sure feels like it's too late. You know, will MAGA, will the base, the MAGA base, will they ever realize how bad they've been conned? Will they ever realize it? Because we know they're the types that'll start the fight today. They will fight today. They'll pick up the guns and go today. Democrats? Non-Republican? Not so much. Anyway, hey, thanks for hanging out again. we'll try this next week. Have a good weekend, and hope you stay healthy. Do some fun stuff. Enjoy this weather. And just like this guy says, everybody stay prayed up. I will see y'all next week. And be same time, same place. All right. Take it easy.